ونستعين ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. أما بعد, we'll be continuing the chapter of patience in the book of Imam Nawawi rahimahullah, Riyadh as-Saliheen. Today we'll be talking about the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It will be one hadith for today, but it is not a short one, so it will take a bit of time, not too much, inshallah. And all these moments will be, you will see them, inshallah. You will have them with you. Allah Ta'ala will give you good deeds for these moments where you sit and listen to the hadith of the Rasul, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The main benefactor is us. Allahumma rabbana lakal hamd. And from the greatness of hadith, Imam Malik rahimahullah, he used to, when he came upon a hadith of the Rasul ﷺ, he used to go and make wudu before speaking hadith of the Rasul ﷺ. That is the greatness of the hadith and how we should respect it. The words of the Rasul. Allahumma salli wa sallam ala Nabiyyina Muhammad. Today we'll be talking about the hadith of Suhaib radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. He reported that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, "There lived a king before you, and he had a magician. As he grew old, he said to the king, 'I have grown old.'" So here we can see that this king was not a pious man. He had magicians with them, and magicians is kufr, magic. So he had it and used to have whatever soothsaying about the future, as no one knows the future but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the king, the magician, as he grew old, he told the king, "Send me a young boy in order to teach him the magic." Here there is a benefit we should all notice. Children, our children and others are born on fitrah. They are born with the initial true beliefs. But as the Rasul ﷺ said, then their parents changed them to other religions, to Christianity, to Judaism, too. So they are there with fitrah, the true beliefs. And then the other things are changed, their beliefs. So it is what we write on these blank pages. We should be very careful in what we write on these pages. A word we might say might scar the child for life. It might affect him for life. So knowing what to say, and it is important not to act upon reflexes with children. Think before you punish. Think before you say something that might scar him for life. At the end of the day, subhanAllah, if you come when you are about to punish and you look at this child that Allah Ta'ala has entrusted to you, and you will be asked about this child. You will be asked, have you taught him the truth? Have you taught him what is right? Did you take him with you to masjid? Did you get him to get used to walking to the masjid back and forth? Did you teach him the Quran? How to say al-Fatiha correctly? How to recite the short surahs correctly? Did you teach him good manners? We will be asked upon all this. And if we are not or have not taught our children correctly, it is grounds for punishment. So he asked the king, the magician, he asked the king to send him a young boy so he can teach him magic, kufr. The king sent him a young boy to serve the purpose, and on his way, going to the magician, the young boy met a monk to whom he listened to and he enjoyed listening to. Because subhanAllah, the truth, it hits certain places in your heart. It makes you relaxed. You know it is the truth, subhanAllah. When Allah Ta'ala allows it or allows you to accept the truth. So it became the boy's habit that on his way to the magician he would stop and meet the monk. And he would sit there and he would become late for the king, for the magician. So the magician used to beat him because of being so late. When he complained about the beating to the monk, he told him, when you are afraid of the magician, just tell him you were late with your parents. And when you are late going back to your parents, just tell them you were late being with the magician. So it so happened that there was a huge beast that blocked the way of the people. And the young boy said, I will know today whether the magician or the monk is better. So now he is testing what he has learned from the magician and what he has learned from the monk. So he said, I will test today, which is better, the magician or the monk? So he picked up a stone and said, O Allah, if the way of the monk is dearer to you than the way of the magician, bring about death to the animal, so that the people be able to move freely. It's clear? So he picked up a stone and said, O Allah, if the way of the monk is truth, is correct, what should happen? Yes. Should bring death to the animal. He threw the stone at it and killed it, and the people began to move freely. He then came to the monk and told him the story. The monk said, Son, today you are superior to me. You have come to a stage where I feel that you would be soon trialed. And in case you are trialed, do not tell them about me, said the monk. That young boy began to heal those born blind, and he then began to cure people from all kinds of illnesses. Alone? By the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As will come in the story, he never said that I do this, it is by my grace, it is that. It is by Allah Ta'ala's grace. So he began to cure people from all kinds of illnesses. When a courtier of the king who had gone blind heard about him, he came to him with numerous gifts and said, if you cure me, all these will be yours, the gifts. He said, I myself do not cure anyone. The boy said, I do not cure anyone. It is Allah, the Exalted, alone who cures. And if you affirm faith in Allah, I shall also supplicate to Allah to cure you. Notice the difference here between what the boy said and what between some people who say they are awliya say or do. Will they say this is all in Allah Ta'ala's grace? Or they will say we are awliya, this is because we are saliheen, we are good people, we are wali, etc. The truth is to always affirm it to Allah, because nothing is from us. On these actions, when he does such things, curing, etc., the true way is to say it is from Allah Ta'ala alone. It is never by any human being. That is part of Tawheed. When ulama, they talk about Tawheed and Shirk, all these are part of it. So you never give any kind of worship, anything that Allah Ta'ala likes, you give to Allah. You worship Allah Ta'ala alone. Not just by prayer. Even making dua to a grave, that is shirk. Allah Ta'ala does not forgive that. Be him dead or alive. No one has any benefit at all. Allah Ta'ala, it is in Allah Ta'ala's hands, subhanahu. So he said, I myself do not cure anyone, it is Allah. He then affirmed his faith in Allah, the blind person, the blind courtier of the king. He then affirmed his faith in Allah, and then Allah Ta'ala cured him. He can now see. He then came to the king, the courtier, and sat by his side, and as he used to before. The king said to him, or he told him, who restored your eyesight? He said, my Rabb. Thereupon he said, the king, do you have another Lord besides me? He said, my Rabb and your Rabb is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the king tortured him, and he kept torturing him until he revealed the young boy. So we told him about the young boy. The young boy was thus summoned, and the king said to him, boy, it has been conveyed to me that you have become so proficient in your magic, he said, that you cure the blind and the lepers, and you do such and such. He then said, I do not cure anyone. I do not cure anyone. It is Allah alone who cures. And the king began to torture him until he revealed the monk. The monk was summoned, and it was said to him, you should turn back from your religion. But he refused. The king sent for a saw. We know what a saw is. In Arabic it's called minshar. Just in case someone wants to learn Arabic in these moments. So the king sent for a saw. He placed it in the middle of his head and cut him in two parts. Then the courtier of the king was brought forward, and it was said to him, turn back from your religion. He too refused. And the saw was placed in the midst of his head, and he was torn in two parts. Then the boy was sent for him, and it was said to him, turn back from your religion. Turn back from your religion. And these two, they were cut in half. Subhanallah, what kind of faith have they reached? So he said, turn back from your religion, and the saw was put in his head. That was the courtier, and then he was sawed in two parts. Then the boy was sent for, and it was said to him, turn back from your religion. The boy refused. The king then handed him over to a group of his courtiers and said to them, or he ordered them, take him to such and such a mountain. It was a big mountain and a very high mountain. Make him climb up that mountain, and when you reach its peak, ask him to renounce his faith. If he refuses to do so, push him to his death. So they took him and made him climb up the mountain, and he said, Oh Allah. The boy said, Oh Allah. He made dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Oh Allah, save me from them in any way you wish, any way you like. And the mountain began to shake. And they all fell down dead, except the boy. So the boy came down walking to the king. He didn't run away. He came back walking to the king. And the king told him, what happened to your companions? He said, Allah has saved me from them. He again handed him to some of his courtiers and said, take him and carry him in a boat. And when you reach the middle of the sea, ask him to renounce his religion, as was done earlier on the top of the mountain. If he does not renounce his religion, throw him into the water, in the middle of the sea. So they took him, and he said, Oh Allah, save me from them. The boat turned upside down, and they all drowned, except the young boy who came walking back to the king. The king told him, what happened to your companions? He said, Allah has saved me from them. At this time, he told the king, so you want to kill me? If you want to kill me, you need to do what I command you to do. The boy tells the king. The king asked him, and what would that be? He said, gather all the people in one place, so they can see. Gather all the people in one place, and tie me up to the trunk of a tree. Then take an arrow from my quiver, and say, by the name of Allah, the Rabb of the boy. Then shoot me. or fire the arrow at me. If you do that, you will be able to kill me. The king called the people in an open field and tied the young boy to the trunk of a tree. He took out an arrow from his quiver, fixed in the bow, and said, "By the name of Allah, the Rabb of the young boy." He then shot the arrow and it hit the boy's temple. The young boy placed his hand upon the temple where the arrow had hit him, and he died. The people then said, "We believe in the Rabb of the boy." So they all believed in what he believed in. آمنا برب الغلام. We believe in the Rabb of the boy. So here it's a very, very sensitive subject, very important. Shaykh ibn Uthaymeen talked about this, where he said some people might believe that those who do the suicide, what do you call it? Suicide bombings, they think they are doing like what the boys do, where it is jihad. They are killing the disbelievers. Shaykh ibn Uthaymeen says this is suicide. This is him killing, they are killing themselves deliberately. And it is not jihad. Jihad is a very, very complex matter. It is not something that I or you or any normal person can talk about. It is a matter of great complexity, where ulama, the big ulama, not normal ulama even, the big ulama talk about it. There are lots of conditions. So he says if they think that they are going or they are doing right, they are in fact committing suicide. And he who commits suicide in Islam he will not go to Jannah. He does not smell the smell of Jannah, as the Prophet said. So, how is this boy different? Also, he mentions that Shaykh ibn Uthaymeen says not only that, he is killing himself by killing 2, 10, 200 of other people. He is in fact bringing great damage to his fellow Muslims. When, for example, he kills a few of them, they will in turn kill more and bother them more and hurt them more. So it is neither is it right to do it. It is in fact, as we mentioned, it is suicide. Not only that, he also brings damage to the people behind him. The boy mentions, Shaykh al-Islam mentions that the boy is Shaykh Islam ibn Taymiyyah, says that he was in fact in jihad. He gathered the people and he taught the king how to kill him. And when he did that, he was in fact going to die. Shaykh Islam says he's going to die either today or tomorrow. And he will die in the way that he wishes, which is a Muslim. Dying by the fi sabilillah. What is fi sabilillah? Sorry? In the way of Allah. So it is different. So that is suicide, and what the boy has done was in fact dying in the way of Allah, correct? So the king then commanded. So after this was shot, and after all the people became Muslims, the king commanded that trenches be dug and fires lit in these trenches. We know what trenches are, right? And then there will fire lit in these trenches. And he said, he would not turn back. And he said, basically, he who would not turn back from this boy's religion, throw him in the fire, or order them to throw themselves into the fire. They did so, throwing them in the fire, because they refused to leave the religion of the boy after they believed. They did so till a woman came with her child. She felt hesitant in jumping into the fire, but the child said to her, "O mother, endure this ordeal, for you are on the right path." This hadith is in Muslim, Sahih Muslim. There are quite a lot of benefits to this hadith. Something that we have mentioned, and we'll touch on them in a couple of minutes. We will be finished, inshallah. The first is that on the path to Jannah, the path of Islam, a lot of difficulties will arise. It is not an easy path. Thus, we should face them with patience and determination. We notice how the people have faced huge difficulties, asking them to come back or leave the religion while having a saw on your head, and then cutting you in half, jumping into a fire, asking you just to leave this religion. These are huge difficulties. So we will, inshaAllah, we will not face such difficulties, but whatever difficulties we face, we have to be patient. We have to be patient. This dunya, it's very short. How long do we live? 30, 40, 50, 60, 80 years? And then Jannah or Nar. And even these 80 years, a third of it is sleep. Add another 20, 15% it is sickness. What are we left with? We are left with few hours. If you would think about your history, where were you when we were in school just yesterday? And now children are all grown up. And the next thing you know, everything is gone. Alas. It is short. In Arabic there is a saying, it's like a cloud. If you look up at the cloud and just stare at it, in a couple of minutes you will notice your head is over there. Without even noticing, you moved your head. This is like a dunya. It is so quick. You never notice that you were here and you are here. You were 12, 15, 18, now you're 40, 50, 60. And the dunya is hours, minutes. And then when the time has come to depart this world, and we will be asked about everything, then these moments where we have had patience in the difficulties we faced, where the way we treat people, where the way we make da'wah, where the way we taught people the good. Making da'wah is not simply giving a book. Making da'wah is for people to see you with your good manners, when you smile in their faces, when the people of, not of the Arabian Peninsula, other countries, civilizations, they got Islam mainly by the manners of the Muslim traders. It was not by the sword. It was by manners. And this is a huge matter. We have to talk about it, inshaAllah. Some we will touch upon in this book, and if not in future lessons, inshaAllah, we will talk about it. Because manners are a huge part of Islam. It is a huge part. Yet, it is overlooked by many. So that is the first benefit we mentioned. Also, here it is said that it's proof of the truth of the words of Allah, of the Quran, that it has retold great historical events like As-haab al-Ukhdood, qutila As-haab al-Ukhdood. Also, this is an important subject. Some have probably talked about Quraniyun, where they say we only believe in Quran. Sunnah, we are not sure about its truth. Subhanallah. These people are far from Islam. If they think this is the true Islam, they are mistaken. They are nowhere near Islam. Anyone who disbelieves in Sunnah is a disbeliever in Islam. And he is automatically a disbeliever in the Quran. Because the Quran orders us to believe Sunnah. And without Sunnah, Islam will not reach us. Correct? We will not understand what Islam is, how to interpret the Quran. A lot of things we got from Sunnah. Ask him. I remember I asked one, I told him, pray. How do you pray Dhuhr? He said, 4 rak'ahs. I said, how do you know? Show me in the Quran that it is 4 rak'ahs. He said, no, this is another thing. See, it is not, it is a watery discussion. When he says it is another thing, it's not the same. Salat is too big a subject for me just to leave to these matters. Zakat, Hajj, it is all interpreted to us by Sunnah. Where in fact it was actually mentioned in the Quran. How is it mentioned? By Allah Ta'ala ordering us to follow the orders of Rasul ﷺ. وَمَا أَتَاكُمُ الرَّسُولُ فَخُذُوهُ. What the Prophet ﷺ has given you, take it. And Allah Ta'ala will not order us to take something when it is void, when it is not true, when it is not correct. And if you are to read about Hadith and how the Hadiths are chosen and they make sure it is the work or it is the words of Allah, then you will come into great iman about this subject, about how Hadith is true. When Bukhari or Muslim or other Hadiths that are correct, you will be very, what do you call it? Peaceful with accepting this Hadith, that it is the truth. When it is said that it is correct, Hadith Sahih. And this is also another subject. So here, Shaykh says it is not possible to explain and interpret the Quran without the help of ahadith. The event of As-haab al-Ukhdood mentioned in the Quran is an instance in point. It is the Hadith that has brought in light the details of the event and clarified its ambiguity. And also he mentions that such incidents as As-haab al-Ukhdood are a source of strength for the faith of true believers. هذا والله تعالى أعلى وأعلم. صلى الله وسلم على نبينا وآله وصحبه أجمعين وإياكم.